Hey gang, Mark Sweeney here from Austin Dental Spa in beautiful, warming up Austin, Texas. We're fully into spring, got some April showers yesterday in the month of May, making up for lost time in April. So, if you've been living under a rock, you might not be aware of some of the stuff that's been going on out there, but if you haven't been living under the proverbial rock, you've probably heard lots of stuff in the news cycle about cities and even full states removing fluoride from the water as a harmful ingredient in the water supply. So we're going to talk about that today and the relative pros and cons, and I've got some really good studies for you that might get your attention about motivating you to feel one way or the other about this subject. This is a new month. We finished April Fuels last week and last month, and so we're into Mindful May this month. So we're going to be talking about things that will give you a chance to slow it down a little bit, be mindful of what's going on in your life and the world around us, and hopefully give you some helpful tips to have a better May than you might have had without Wisdom Wednesdays. And so hope you'll tune in for the rest of the month. We've got some really great stuff starting with today. This is a killer Wisdom Wednesday episode today because fluoride's been around. I remember my dad was on the city council in Wharton, Texas, a city of 8,000 people back in the late 50s, early 60s. I was in fourth or fifth grade, I think, and it came up before the city council, and all three of the dentists in town got up and spoke about the relative advantages of putting fluoride in the water supply. And this was a rural farming community, and a lot of people came to that same meeting complaining that they were going to get poisoned and that all kinds of bad things were going to happen. Right now, the only major city over 100,000 people in the United States is not going to stay that way for long, that is unfluoridated and continually votes it down, is right down the road in San Antonio, Texas, where I went to dental school. And I can tell you from my own personal experience, little kids still come to the dentist and have a mouthful of cavities. But I don't want to influence you one way or another. We'll let the science speak. The ideal fluoride in the water is 1 part per million. That's like 0.7 of a milligram, which is like minuscule, in for every liter of water. A liter is big. So 1 part per million, that's what the CDC and all the health services have recommended. That's what Wharton, Texas voted to put in their water, 1 part per million. That's what Austin, Texas has, is just under 1 part per million. But most recently in Utah and in the state of Florida, they have, Utah did vote to remove fluoride from the drinking water. Florida is that close to doing the same thing. The new Health and Human Services Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., has said he plans to end the CDC advocating putting fluoride in the water. He's got lots of different ideas about vaccines and fluoride in the water and all kinds of things. But what can we expect to see? Well, the science has already been done. Interestingly enough, we got 2 cities, Juneau, Alaska, and Calgary, Canada. You know, that 52nd state up there north of us. Calgary, Canada, and Juneau, Alaska, both fairly large cities. Juneau in 2007 voted to remove fluoride from the water. Calgary was a few steps behind, 2011. So both of those, over a decade ago, almost more than 15 years ago, both of these cities removed fluoride from the drinking water. So we've got a little study going on right here. Last year, the government in Canada paid, in Calgary, Canada, which is where, Calgary and Edmonton are both in the same province in Canada. So, and they're fairly close to each other, but Edmonton still puts fluoride in their water. So the government in Canada sent hygienists into the school system to the second grade. Why the second grade? Important to know this. Those are 7 and 8 year olds. So if the fluoride's been out of the water for 15 years, these 7-year-olds in Calgary have never been exposed to fluoride, at least not in the drinking water. And it's pretty hard to get exposed to fluoride, maybe through toothbrushing with fluoride in it, but most people spit the toothpaste out. They don't swallow it. I certainly don't. I'd be worried about you if you do swallow it, but that's the only way you're going to get fluoride into your system, from brushing with a fluoridated toothpaste. And again, we're talking about minuscule amounts. But this study, 2,649 second graders they studied in these two cities. What they found: in Calgary, the unfluoridated city, 65% of second graders had decay. In Edmonton, right down the road, but fluoridated, only 55%. Now you might say 10% is a little different, but hold on just a minute. We're going to flesh this study out just a little more. 10% actually is a statistically significant difference. If you're talking about 2,600 kids, 55% compared to 50% compared to 65% is a pretty big jump. That's a couple of hundred kids. They fleshed the study out a little more, and they found that this study was actually in the same two cities. In 2018, 2019, they found in Calgary, the unfluoridated city. Now, these kids, again, had not been ever exposed to fluoride in the drinking water. 32 out of every 10,000 kids had decay. Now, they didn't say how much, and there's a clincher coming, but 32 out of every 10,000. In Edmonton, right down the road, 17 out of every 10,000 kids had decay. They're not saying how much decay, they're just saying they had decay. So yes, decay, no decay. Double for Calgary compared to Edmonton. Same kids, same group of kids, 7 and 8 year olds. Now, let's go to Juneau, Alaska before I get to the real clincher parts of this. They looked at dental treatments performed in Juneau, Alaska for kids under the age of 6. Now, they stopped fluoridating their water over a decade ago as well. They found that number of treatments increased from 1.5 per child before fluoridation was removed to 2.5. It almost doubled to 2.5 treatments per kid within 10 years after they stopped fluoridating the water. So the equivalent ended up being, instead of $300 per kid, it was more like $600 per kid, double the amount. And what they found is that these kids had almost a double of the amount of decay just from not having fluoride in the water. So the two main arguments against fluoride are that fluoride stains your teeth, and out in West Texas, we had communities out in Odessa and that area, they actually defluoridated the water back in the 60s because kids were having permanent teeth develop with what they called fluorosis. I have a couple of them as patients now. Most of them have had veneers put on their teeth, but it looks very similar to tetracycline staining for kids that took tetracycline when they were 5 or 6 years old and the enamel was forming on their permanent teeth, and they'd get these awful looking horizontal orange and brown lines on their teeth. Fluorosis is more like a burnt orange color. So if you're a Longhorn, it looks kind of good, but it's streaks. It's like somebody just threw orange paint on their teeth, and it's pretty ugly. Now, their teeth were hard as a rock. They did density studies and found that not only their teeth, but the bones in their body that were forming while they were drinking that massively fluoridated water. I mean, we're talking 10, 11 parts per million, 10 times the strength of what fluoridated water is, and that's too much fluoride. So they actually, in West Texas, defluoridate the water. Other parts of the country, you don't see it too much. But that's one of the things, is that fluoride causes staining of the teeth. Well, only in massively huge amounts. The second was that fluoride is associated with a lowered IQ in children. So I already went through fluorosis can stain teeth, but much of the recent association about fluoride and lowered IQ came from a 2024 study at the U.S. National Institute of Health, but they considered kids that they considered the fluoride level was 1.5 milligrams per liter, so it was double the amount that fluoridated water in the cities that fluoridate their water. And they found the study was kind of neutral as to whether it actually did. There were too many other variables for them to say, hey, the reason these kids have a lower IQ is because they had fluoride in the water. But it was again, at a massive amount. So draw your own conclusions about it. These studies from Canada and Alaska pretty much show that removing fluoride from the water, if you don't supplement it by drinking water that's got fluoride in it or by using fluoridated toothpaste, that there is going to be an increased risk of decay. And I've seen some of the memes out on social media with the guy rubbing his hands saying, dentists hearing that their city is about to remove fluoride from the water. And that's not me. I'd rather see them keep the water in Austin fluoridated, but I have a feeling that it's going to come up as an issue in the very near future. It already is being batted around by the city council. So, strangely enough and ironically enough, my health tip, I couldn't resist this one. Drink more water. I don't care whether it's fluoridated or non-fluoridated for the purposes of this, but here are at least 8 or 9 things that fluoride can help you with. I mean, excuse me, that water can help you with. Sorry, this is Facebook Live. I can't edit that out. Drink more water. It helps regulate body temperature. It lubricates and cushions the joints. It protects the spinal cord and other sensitive tissues. Proper hydration helps keep skin clear and firm. Water can contribute to weight loss and weight management by providing a 0-calorie substitute for sugar-based drinks. Water also helps protect teeth by washing away detrimental bacteria, sugars, and starches, and neutralizing those things as well by diluting them. And proper hydration can improve thinking and mood. So there's enough good reasons to drink more water, whether it's fluoridated or not. I can tell you 2 of my 3 hygienists last summer started carrying around these huge jugs of water. They'd fill them up at the water fountain every day, and their goal was to drink them by the end of the day, by 5 o'clock when they finished patients. Both of them lost weight. The problem was they just couldn't keep that up. They didn't even make it through the summer. They made it till about mid-July, if not early July, a little over a month of drinking all that water. But they did feel better. They lost weight. Their joints felt better. Their moods were good, but they just were in the bathroom a lot more after putting down all that water. So some of you out there may know what I'm talking about. But anyway, stay hydrated. It's starting to get hot out there. And I will see you next week for another episode of Wisdom Wednesday.